This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. Colombia's top drug thug on the U.S. most wanted list is now proposing talks with the Colombian government. This supposed peace offer from Pablo Escobar came as the drug and violence pushers of Colombia kept up their campaign of bombs, bullets, and brutality. In public, Colombia's president says he won't negotiate with narcotics criminals. In private, some Colombian officials indicate there may have already been government dealings with the dealers. CBS News correspondent Richard Schlesinger is our man in Bogota.
A Bogota newspaper carried the offer from one of Colombia's most wanted men. A letter from Pablo Escobar, a leader of the notorious Medellin cocaine cartel, offering to negotiate, suggesting that the newspaper act as mediator between the drug dealers and the government.
Our director, Juan Carlos Pazana, said in our edition, today's edition, that we don't accept to be mediator.
Colombian President Virgilio Barco has publicly rejected talks with the drug dealers, preferring to continue his war with them. The toll has been high on both sides. The cartel continues its campaign of bombings and assassinations. The government continues to seize cartel members. 2 nights ago, police arrested Jose Abello Silva, considered the number 4 man. But some Colombian leaders believe the Barco administration may have taken a different approach behind the scenes. There have been newspaper reports that a senior government official met with a go-between for the cartel 9 times earlier this year. The government's interior minister strongly denies that any talks were held. But this man, Joaquin Vallejo, says he was the go-between and insists the talks did take place. And opposition Senator Alvaro Leyva has what he says may be notes outlining the basis for an agreement.
Actually, I'm not for it. And I'd just like to know what happened, that's it.
You want an investigation?
That is correct.
Today's offer of negotiations from Escobar has frightened some Colombians. One senator said it may mean the cartel is against the wall. That may be good, he says, but it could also mean the drug traffickers will escalate their war with the government that already has nerves here on edge. Richard Schlesinger, CBS News, Bogota.
While much of the talk is about Colombia's cocaine criminals, the cocaine pipeline from South America, growing, processing, and smuggling, snakes through the Andean region. This is Central America, Panama right at sort of the edge of the pipeline. And the Andean region is Colombia, Peru, and Bolivia in South America. Agents of the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency, the DEA, are faced not only with an entrenched cocaine economy, but a communist rebel movement. CBS News reporter Scott Pelley has been to Peru's high cocaine country investigating the coke, the cash, and the communists.
In the jungles of Peru, there is new evidence the crackdown on cocaine is disrupting the drug economy. The price of coca leaf, the raw material for cocaine, has fallen sharply. In the upper Huallaga Valley, the heartland of world coca production, the drug lords are buying less. Father Paul Feely opened a mission here 20 years ago.
Right now, the stores will tell you nobody's buying. There's no money in the area. There's just no money.
Sales are off at stores selling supplies to cocaine labs, and there are fewer narco dollars seen in the marketplace. For farmers like Nicanor Malqui, the price of coca has fallen more than 50% since the Colombian crackdown began.
Deja, digamos, de ser mucho rentable.
It's not as profitable now, he says. That is why we are also planting food to eat.
Panic situation is starting to develop, especially in the valley.
Craig Chrétien is the chief DEA agent in Peru. For security, his face is hidden.
You have people wondering how long is this going to last. We have stockpiles gathering. We can't get the product out.
A falling price is seen as progress in the war on drugs, but it may also mean increasing danger for U.S. agents. As part of the administration's Andean strategy, the U.S. has greatly expanded operations from a newly fortified base in the heart of cocaine country. As many as 50 DEA officers join Peruvian police in military-style strikes, hitting the choke points of cocaine production, airstrips, and laboratories. Here, U.S. agents face not only drug traffickers, but also a fanatic and violent communist insurgency called Sendero Luminoso, or the Shining Path. In the last 10 years, Sendero warfare has claimed 15,000 Peruvian lives. It is a war the guerrillas pay for by taxing the cocaine trade.
The only thing that all cocaine growers and traders have to know very clearly is that the sovereign power in that area is the Shining Path, that they shouldn't and cannot do anything against them.
And the Shining Path blames the United States for declining fortunes in cocaine. U.S. helicopters have drawn gunfire. Graffiti in the area threatened DEA agents with death.
I consider this to be the most dangerous post we have. It's a very hostile area.
Officials believe the operations are worth the risk because here agents can both interrupt the flow of raw material and further drive down the farmer's price. But in the near term, success could bring local disaster in this economy hooked on cocaine.
There's no cocaine, therefore I have no money, there is no food available, so what's going to happen?
What is not going to happen is an end to coca production. Already, new strains of coca that grow at lower altitudes are being introduced in Ecuador and Brazil. Many believe farmers pushed out of the upper Huallaga Valley will simply move deeper into the vast jungle. Scott Pelley, CBS News in the upper Huallaga Valley of Peru.
In this country, out campaigning for Republican candidates in 3 states today, President Bush used as part of his campaign talk his acceptance of an invitation to meet with the presidents of South America's cocaine supplier states. Date and place of what's being publicized as the Drug Summit still to be determined. And still to come on tonight's CBS Evening News. Ray Brady, on selling your house, you may make money, and then again you may not. And cheeseburgers, or not a cheeseburger. Susan Spencer on cholesterol confusion.
Breakfast in bed?
Every Sunday.
For 39 years.
How about some whole wheat total?
No, thanks. I like my 100% natural.
And I like my grape nuts.
Better like them a lot. It takes 4 bowls to equal the vitamin nutrition in just 1 bowl of total.
Open wide, Wilma.
Open wider, Henry. You'll need 16 bowls.
Dear, you shouldn't overeat.
Total 1 bowl, 100%. More nutrition than any other cereal.
It's a good thing we're young enough to change.
Nearly 1/3 of the smoke detectors in American homes are not working because of dead or missing batteries. In a fire, they'd be worthless. That's why First Alert created the new light test smoke detector. No smoke detector you can buy is easier to test. You don't even have to stand up. Just wave a flashlight at the gold button, and you know it's working. The new light test smoke detector. Only First Alert gives you this extra protection.
It hurts, sinus pressure, and headache. It really hurts. Sinutab combines the painkiller and Tylenol with the decongestant and Sudafed to give you more than either one alone. It stops the pain. Sinutab stops the pain.
To my beautiful wife.
It's nice to know he still loves the way you look. And if you wear dentures, you can count on Effordent to freshen up dentures and clean away stains so well. With Effordent, all he'll notice is you.
Investigators looking for the cause of last summer's United Airlines crash in Sioux City have something new to go on, and they're all over it tonight. They found it in that engine part recovered this week by an Iowa farm woman. Correspondent Mark Phillips is covering the case for us.
Just 2 days after the fan disc of the United DC-10's tail engine was found in an Iowa cornfield, investigators have discovered what may be an essential clue to the crash, a pre-existing crack in the disc. The crack was found right at the point where the disc broke apart in mid-flight. It runs along the axis of the disc and out towards the fan blades. Investigators aren't sure exactly how long the crack had been there or what caused it. More importantly, it's too soon to tell if the crack actually caused the disc to break apart, leading to the crash landing that left 112 people dead.
Well, we hope that it gives us a giant step towards learning more about why the failure took place.
Also unclear is whether it would have been possible to have discovered the crack through inspection before the accident.
Well, it's an overwhelming figure.
While work on the disc continues, General Electric today made good on its promise to reward handsomely the farming couple which found the crucial part. Janice and Dale Sorensen were presented with a check for $116,000. GE says it'll give them another $4,000 for their time and effort. The Sorensens, who have had a bumper crop this year in more ways than one, indicated late this afternoon they think they found more missing parts.
Finding the crack in the disc today raises new questions in the investigation, questions about whether existing inspection techniques are adequate, and questions about whether the length of time these high-stress parts are kept in service needs to be re-examined. Dan?
Mark, does this mean that these McDonnell Douglas DC-10s are about to be grounded?
No, it doesn't. In fact, the question of grounding came up early in this investigation, and both the NTSB and the FAA and the manufacturers and airlines have all vouched for the safety of the plane. It does mean, though, that the program of inspection of these discs and similar type engines built during the same period as the one that blew up, that inspection technique process has been going on for some time. One slight flaw in one disc was discovered. It may be that now investigators will want to go back and look for the type of flaw that was found in this one.
Now, General Electric makes a lot of aircraft engines. Are the same engines used in other aircraft, or are these engines made specifically for the DC-10s?
They're made for the DC-10. A version of this engine is used in the military version of the DC-10, but what's important to keep in mind here, these particular discs were made on a certain series of engines made during one period of the manufacture, and those are the ones that the investigation is concentrating on.
And Mark, has the investigation settled or not the question of whether parts the U.S. military wouldn't use would then recycled for use with the airlines?
That question, as well, as you know, came up early in the investigation, and it was determined that whatever parts were being recycled and resold were none of the ones that were involved either in this type of accident, this type of disc, or installed, in fact, on civilian planes.
Mark Phillips, thanks. In Washington, the House gave final congressional approval today to legislation making it a crime to desecrate the United States flag, a crime punishable by up to 1 year in jail and a $1,000 fine. President Bush and others are still pushing for outright changing the Constitution to outlaw flag desecration. All this fallout from last June's U.S. Supreme Court ruling that flag desecration, abominable as it may be, is a constitutionally protected form of protest. Tremendous fire in Boston's Chinatown today. It started about noon in a building under construction and quickly spread to several other Boston buildings. Nearly 200 firefighters battled the flames, smoke, and heat. 10 people, including 8 firefighters, suffered minor injuries. Officials believe the fire may have been touched off by a Boston worker using a blowtorch.
Attention shredded wheat eaters, you've been missing something. Taste, but no more. Kellogg's Squares brings you that superlative shredded wheat nutrition with no salt, no fat, no cholesterol. But wait, Kellogg's Squares gives you free in every bite. Taste. Sweet, delectable fruit in the middle. You might never eat plain old shredded wheat again. Kellogg's Squares, shredded wheat with taste, free in every bite. And speaking of taste, now Squares have 35% more raisin. Great taste, free.
With low back pain, every step shoots pain. Up here. Know what helps?
Clinically proven Back Guard, a shoe insert. Watch how it absorbs foot shock to relieve low back pain.
Amazing. Something down here can help up here.
Back Guard from Dr. Scholl's.
Pain. Pain that throbs. Aches. Pain that pulses. When doctors were asked what they take more often for their everyday pain, Bayer, Tylenol, extra strength Tylenol, or Advil. More doctors take Bayer more than extra strength Tylenol, or Tylenol more than Advil. More doctors take Bayer. For pain, Bayer is the wonder drug that works wonders.
This is new Hellman's cholesterol free.
Will I like it?
It has 0% cholesterol.
Will I like it?
It tastes 100% Hellman's.
I like it.
I knew you'd like it.
I knew I'd like it.
New Hellman's cholesterol free with half the fat. Bring out the best.
Well, you see them on front lawns all across America. For sale signs, signs of unsold homes, signs of changing times. Generally speaking, all across the country, demand for houses is dropping. So are prices, so are profits for sellers. While prices vary, of course, region to region, the U.S. government estimates that nationwide, a house that was worth $111,000 back in 1980 lost about $5,000 in value by 1985. The figure's adjusted for inflation. Today, that same house is worth less than $100,000. Read it and weep. As business correspondent Ray Brady reports, the American home is no longer the sweet investment you may have once, not too long ago, thought it was, and the returns now can be ever so humble.
Jan Powell is still shocked.
Like millions of other Americans, she felt if there was one thing you could count on, it was making money when you sold your house.
These lights should all be on. That makes me want to buy.
We've gone through 3 or 4 price reductions.
Today, Jan Pell finally found a buyer, 4 months after she put the house up for sale and after dropping the price almost $90,000.
Over 58 million Americans own and occupy their own homes. And for many of them, that house is their major financial asset. But that asset is rapidly dropping in value in many parts of the country. One reason? There simply have been too many houses built. 76 million baby boomers drove housing prices up in the 70s and 80s. But here's the rub. Even as those houses were going up, the population was dropping. And now there's a baby bust. Only 41 million will be in the market. That's barely half as many buyers for all of today's houses.
Over the next 20 years, because there were very few births in the 1970s, we'll see relatively slow growth in the adult population. And that means that the need for new housing will be low, and low demand is going to translate into low prices.
Words like that shock Otto and Joan Peace. They can't believe what's happening here in Libertyville, Illinois.
2 years ago, the homes were selling between 4 and 6 weeks.
Not now. The pieces have dropped their price $14,000 to $225,000. Bidders so far? None. Builders have already got the message, and the brakes are on. In Boston, permits to build new single-family houses will drop 26% this year. Atlanta, down 24%. Orange County, California, down 22%. In the past, the American dream of owning your own home always had a sequel. Live in it, then sell it at a huge profit.
The increase that your parents got is something that's just not going to be available to the baby boom generation.
Even if we hit hard times financially, I always thought, well, worst came to worst, we had our home. That was our security for later on in our life.
So another dream has faded because there's a message in those for sale signs. As Jan Pell now knows, you no longer can bank on your home as a retirement nest egg. Ray Brady, CBS News, Montvale, New Jersey.
I got a flat tire. Now my stomach's on fire. My day. And my Lanta, too.
Introducing Mylanta 2 roll packs for double strength antacid relief wherever you are.
Because my life takes my Lanta, too.
I just did something incredible. 5 minutes ago, I had gray hair, but now I don't. And this is what did it. New Option Instant from Clairol. The advanced way to get rid of the gray. New Option Instant for men is different. There's no messy mixing. It's so easy. Just press, apply, and only 5 minutes later, your natural-looking color's back. Hair even feels thicker. So why look like this?
When you can look like this.
New Option Instant from Clairol. The advanced way to get rid of the gray.
When my minor arthritis pain acts up, even little things are a big effort. But I don't take aspirin anymore. I take Advil. Advil gives me hours of relief from arthritis pain, and it's gentler to my stomach than aspirin. Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
Honey, great news. I don't need surgery for my hemorrhoids. The doctor said they're not that serious.
Well, what did he say?
He told me to eat right, get some exercise, and when they act up, use Preparation H.
Thousands of doctors distribute this hemorrhoidal care guide. It advises a fiber-rich diet, exercise, and for flare-ups, try Preparation H for effective therapy against hemorrhoidal symptoms.
Aren't you glad you didn't need surgery?
Preparation H, ointment or suppositories.
Cholesterol. It's a scare word of the 1980s. The repeated warning from the government, get your numbers down before your numbers up. But now, questions are being raised about whether there really is a solid link between lowering blood cholesterol levels and reducing the risk of death from heart disease. CBS News medical correspondent Susan Spencer has been investigating whether cholesterol warnings should really be taken to heart.
This is new Hellman's cholesterol free.
Will I like it?
The message is inescapable and has been ever since the government declared its all-out anti-cholesterol campaign, for which its TV spots even enlisted the help of the citizens of Metropolis.
Say, do you know your number?
Lois, I didn't know you cared. But I know you don't have to be Superman to lower it.
Lucky for you.
In health-conscious America, surveys today show that 6 in 10 people have had their numbers checked. The national guidelines say above 200 can spell trouble.
Sounds like a public that's saying, I think I want to find out where I stand.
I think it's a fad, and they've gone too far because they frighten the hell out of the nation.
Has the campaign gone too far? Is it maybe all right after all to eat cheeseburgers every day at every meal? Not so fast. The key, the experts say, is to remember that cholesterol is only part of the heart disease story.
It's like high blood pressure and smoking. People should have the same concern about their cholesterol that they have about their blood pressure.
The cholesterol number is, after all, somewhat arbitrary, a fact critics have seized on, especially since the major studies have not proved that people below the magic number of 200 actually live longer. On the other hand, virtually everyone agrees that they do have less heart disease.
You will reduce that chance, and you will reduce the disability and the angina and the chance of being in a coronary care unit. Well, isn't quality of life worth something also?
It certainly is today to Pete 20, who, like many Americans, has changed his diet dramatically over the last year after a heart attack.
My wife and I have been eating a lot of chicken and a lot of fish.
The naysayers say that's great for Pete 20, who is like most of the people studied, male, middle-aged, and with high cholesterol. But some question the assumption that what applies to him should apply to everybody.
The evidence is much less clear about women and is very fuzzy and very foggy about the elderly.
Also unclear, the long-term effects of the new cholesterol-reducing drugs. Drugs are supposed to be a last resort, but with all the hype, some doctors worry that they are being over-prescribed.
In some cases, the patients, and in some cases, the physicians find the ease of just administering a pill to be very attractive, especially when in many of those patients, the pills work better and faster than diet.
Debates about drugs will go on for decades, as will arguments over how much diet really can do to improve your odds. But the debates are premised on one accepted fact. High cholesterol is associated with heart disease, and a steady diet of the stuff, as yummy as it is still probably a bad idea. Susan Spencer, CBS News, Washington.
4 American scientists won Nobel Prizes today. The chemistry prize went to Sidney Altman of Yale and Thomas Cech of the University of Colorado for their discoveries about the genetic material RNA. The physics prize went to 2 Americans and a West German. Norman Ramsey of Harvard won for discoveries that led to the atomic clock used as a world standard of time. Hans de Melt of the University of Washington and West German Wolfgang Paul shared the other half of the physics award for inventing ways to isolate single atoms. The man who was convicted of murdering Swedish Prime Minister Olof Palme is free tonight, released on appeal. An appeals court said there was not enough evidence to justify the jury's verdict against 42-year-old Christer Peterson, a drug user with a long criminal record.
This looks like something my mom would eat. It's kind of quiet, conservative. I don't think I can get into this. I mean, it's just a bunch of flakes. It doesn't taste the way it looks. I like the way it crunches. Maybe it's good because it's simple. Wait, don't tell me. I'm just like my mother.
Kellogg's Corn Flakes.
Corn Flakes?
Taste them again for the first time.
Right now at Sears, until October 22nd, get 0% financing until January on all major purchases with Sears Charge. No payments, no billing, no finance charge until then. Get to Sears for great low prices and 0% financing now.
You, behind the coffee cup, show us your Caffrey smile. Caffrey decaffeinates your smile. Caffrey toothpaste helps keep coffee and tea from staining your smile like they stain your cup. Get Caffrey toothpaste or gel and show us your Caffrey smile.
This dresser was the first thing we bought when we got married. A lot's changed since then. But one thing stayed the same. I've dusted it with Pledge every week. And now N-Dust says, watch out for buildup. After 16 years, come on. Dusting with Pledge is what keeps it beautiful. Look, N-Dust evaporates, leaving wood as dry and unprotected as before. But a Pledge shine protects beautifully.
With Pledge, dusting can be beautiful.
16 years, and still counting.
Calls for reform and open debate were spreading in East Germany today, even from leaders of the Communist Party. One voice not joining in the chorus is the Supreme Communist Party leader, 77-year-old Erich Honecker, and rumors are in the wind that he may be ousted. All through Eastern Europe and East Germany, Poland, and Czechoslovakia, one of the urgent issues pressed by the reformers is action to save the environment. Tonight, as we continue trying to keep you up to date on one of the great stories of the 20th century, the changing face of communism, our senior European correspondent, Tom Fenton, reports on what they've done to the land in Czechoslovakia.
At the annual Prague Music Festival, the opening piece is Smetana's My Country. Czechoslovakia's favorite composer wrote about the land he loved, the great forests, and old Prague, the jewel of European cities. The beauty of Smetana's music endures. The beauty of his land is disappearing. Czechoslovakia is choking under a pall of deadly smog. This is the most polluted country in Europe. Like its East European neighbors, it has allowed industrial development to ride roughshod over public health.
The premium has been on production, as it is in most Eastern European countries, and really everything else has been sacrificed to the goal of production at any price.
3,000 toxic discharges have been recorded in the Vltava River that flows through Prague. 3,000 exemptions from pollution controls have been granted by the Ministry of Industry. Vast strip mines scar the countryside. Dirty energy sources are exploited for inefficient industries. Government production quotas must be met, even if it means raping the land. The damage caused by the huge machines that scrape brown coal from the earth is only part of the story. The heavy use of this high-sulfur fuel has spread the poison of acid rain throughout the land. Czechoslovakia is an ecological disaster. A third of the wildlife is faced with extinction, more than a third of the rivers and streams are biologically dead, and half of the forest will be destroyed by the end of this century. There's plenty of anti-pollution legislation on the books. The government simply ignores it. Great areas of the forest of Bohemia in western Czechoslovakia resemble battlefields. No birds are heard, no animals are seen, even insects are rare. Saplings have been planted, but the soil is so poisoned there's a question of whether anything will grow. A communist official admits candidly that the party is responsible for all of this.
No, it was allowed because the attention of politicians were not concentrated enough on this problem. They just were obsessed with the quantitative aspects of economic development.
In the industrial towns, that unbridled economic development has a deadly effect. Government studies show an unusually high infant mortality rate. The children who survive grow up under unfiltered smokestacks that blot out the sun. One of the most beautiful areas of Europe is now scarred beyond recognition. Future generations of Czechoslovaks will only know the grandeur of their country through Smetana's music. Much of the beauty is lost. Tom Fenton, CBS News, Czechoslovakia.
And that's part of our world tonight. We hope you'll stay tuned now for 48 Hours. Tonight it's about marijuana. That's 48 Hours tonight at 8, 7 Central Time. Dan Rather for the CBS Evening News. See you soon on 48 Hours.
A drug war on American soil. What will the next 48 hours be like? Marijuana, the homegrown high, tonight.
Just ahead on 11 News at 6, Craig Washington says he's the target of dirty politics in the race to fill the late Mickey Leland's seat.